Yo, what's poppin', guys? Sizzle here. Welcome to the first ever episode of How's the HUD, where I review TF2 HUDs, kind of give my thoughts on them, use them, just see how they are. Not sure exactly how many HUDs I'm going to review in this. It's probably going to be a perpetual series until I find a HUD that I don't know, really enjoy, or I feel like I've reviewed every HUD that I could really find that seemed interesting. Let me know if there's any HUDs you want to see reviewed in the comments below, and I'll give them a go. But yeah. We're starting things off with the default TF2 HUD, which, despite what a lot of people say, a lot of people give it a lot of shit and say it's really, really bad. I think it looks solid, right? Main menu, we got all of our buttons where you'd kind of somewhat expect them. I guess I'm saying that as someone who's played TF2 for like well over a decade, but you know, get our options and stuff all down here. The shop and items button right next to each other down here. Very nice and isolated. A nice rounded, stylized edges and everything. Nice, icons up here for the news, the contracts, and then this is a dedicated Twitch button, which I think is kind of interesting. Obviously got the flippable coin, which is obviously really nice. Got its own sound effect and all that. Party settings and stuff in the chat can just be accepted up here, which isn't super intuitive, I'll give you that, and I guess for some reason that broke for me. It normally doesn't do that. You know, you can do custom ping limit and all that, and change your ping and stuff up here as well, which is pretty neat. The back button to exit out of that, pretty weird spot. Backpack-wise, looks, decent. It's got all the classes zooming in as you go across them. The backpack itself, I think, looks super saturated. This is my main complaint with the stock HUD, actually, is how the default backpack looks. Like, I go here, like, you can barely even tell these are unusuals. I have the colored borders on, which definitely helps things a lot. By the way, for all these HUDs, I'm going to have the same set of settings. I have the same config, right, which will include these border outlines on everything. It's one of the default TF2 options and not tied to HUDs in any way. You know, the outlines are like barely visible. Everything almost like blends together, which is a bad thing in the backpack. And at least for me personally, when I'm looking through my backpack, I want to be able to like see an item and be like, that's that item, and just kind of work the whole way through and just kind of see things more uniquely. And with the default colors and all that on the stock backpack, you really lose a lot of that. Every item does not feel like an individual item. It's just like a wave of many items. It makes it really hard to identify stuff. Generally is pretty bad. So I will say that's the one really big bad thing when it comes to the stock HUD. The find a game button's pretty nice and functional. Create a server, community servers, whatever. Main versus machine is its own drop-down menu. Competitive's got its own little side menu. I kind of wish it popped out a little or something though, because the competitive menu just goes over this menu, and so does the MVM one, and you can't really like get out of it super easily. And I don't know, like there's so much empty space here on the left that it could be using when you click this button, or maybe push this to the left and keep it on the right. I don't really know why they didn't do that. That's maybe another complaint. But casual map selection works pretty well all the same. Yeah, that's one of the main things. These like small, almost non-existent back buttons on the side are really the only thing. That and the backpack are the main things on the stock HUD that I don't like. But now we're gonna go queue into a game to see, the loading screen, the join now button, and all that. And yeah, right, loading screen looks pretty nice. The default one with all the stats obviously looks great. When you actually load into a map and you can see little map stamps and map icons and all that, and like pictures of it, that's also nice as well. The welcome to whatever map with a movie. And then the class select screen all looks pretty nice. I will say I use a lot of other custom HUDs where when you select a class, you can still see what's going on in-game while selecting a class, which I think is a nice quality of life. And it's one of the few other downsides of the TF2 stock HUD is when you're swapping class specifically, it takes up your whole screen and you can't see anything else, which is rather unfortunate, to be frank. Like let's be very clear here. Let's be very real. That is a downside of the stock HUD. Outside of that, though, ammo's in the bottom right, health's in the bottom left. They got nice rounded edges. They look pretty clean. All the objective info you need is in the bottom here. The chat's nice and out of the way in the bottom corner. The chat, the information about who's dead and alive on both teams, and maybe other info if you're playing like King of the Hill. The King of the Hill info is up at the top. Right, all that info is nice and out of the way in the corners. The kill feed's on the top right. Right? Everything's nice and out of the way at the edges of the screen, but still big enough and visible enough that you can easily see it. Like when I'm looking around, just looking forward at people, I don't have a bunch of cluttered stuff toward the middle of my screen, and I can still see this scout. And then, see my ammo, health, and that scout all at the same time. By having it all nice around the edges and divided like that, it just works. Well, that's our spy. What the hell? This their spy? That's their spy. But yeah, just looks solid in game. Right, the health bars on people, I guess that's also another HUD element I should probably talk about. When I look at someone, it's actually pretty hard to see their exact health, but with the nice, like, white, like, fill-up of that plus sign, it's decent. That's I guess, another thing. It's hard to see, like, usernames and stuff when you flick over people so quickly. Like, the big B there, I had to, like, spend, like, a good 5 to 10 seconds looking at them to see that. Pressing F on people to inspect what they got going on works great in this, though. There's no bugs when it comes to that. That's a problem some other HUDs have, is when you inspect people with F and you try to look at what hats they have on, what weapons they have, etc, etc. A lot of HUDs bug out when it comes to... Okay, he's shooting me. I thought that was the same scout that was T-posing from before, and I wasn't gonna, go fuck with him. But yeah. Scoreboard-wise, these draggable bars are pretty obnoxious. I don't know why they were there and why they're gone now. It's just when I right-click, I guess, to be able to scroll through and look at people's stats. Speaking of which, the stats, you got all the stats there. Almost too many stats. I feel like nobody really, I don't know, cares to see the amount of dominations and revenges they have. Almost overwhelming amount of data. It's also not super obvious to most people that when you hold tab and you right-click and you just click on people, you can view their stats and like their character model as well if they're new team. Like I can see this little heavy here, this damage done, this kills and all that. But yeah, generally very simple, straight to the point. The objective information is also very central. It's either toward the bottom or top, so you don't get confused or maybe not notice. Like with the stock HUD, if I look at the bottom, I always see the payload right there. I'll see the King of the Hill at the top right there if we were in King of the Hill. And that will kind of keep you informed on it, right? You won't be confused as to where the point is. You won't have to look around and be like, are we at 3rd or 4th or 5th or whatever. Most of the time it'll be pretty obvious based on where people are. But it's nice to have that more central and more visible than the other elements, because it is a lot more important, obviously. And I always forget on Bad Water how the spawns move. And I can't rocket jump. Unlucky. But yeah, generally very solid looking, very good all around. And then the only other thing which I kind of didn't mention is when you're in spectate and there's like a little gray bar on the top and bottom. I don't like that. That takes up like half of your screen. It makes it when you're spectating people, it's hard to see, if that makes sense. Right, so when I go here, you can see at the top and the bottom that gray bar. I don't like that. Most other HUDs remove that because it just takes up so much of the screen. It's so hard to see what's going on. Right, it's not great. Like it's not like the end of the world, but it is strictly not great. It's strictly a bit of a problem with the default HUD. But when you're spectating, unlike when you look at players and you can like sometimes maybe see their health and sometimes maybe see their name, when you look at like people when you're spectating them, it's really obvious where their health and name are. So the spectator HUD has that down a lot better, at least in my opinion. I like being able to see someone's name and their health like easily. And other HUDs, it's more visible. I don't know. When I look at this medic, I can see his name pretty well, but like most other people, the name tag's almost too small, and the health thing is definitely too small. I can barely see my teammates' health bars. I can still see them, and if I like strain my eyes, I can see that spy was like half health or whatever. But I feel like compared to most other custom HUDs, I have to put a bit more work in to see someone's health, if that makes sense. I don't know what it is about that. Like, I don't know if it's just that it's like a particularly small thing because my computer's streamed or whatever. Maybe I messed up something in my config that's not even tied to the HUD. I have no idea. There's clearly, there he is. Trumped? I thought that's why I'd go for the health back. I'd be able to cash him out. But yeah, genuinely, like, not too much more to discuss. This video, unlike most of the custom HUDs, which will be compared to the default TF2 HUD, there's not too much I can really say outside of things I don't like, right? Like, I don't like the respawn bars, I don't like the backpack thing, but everything else is standard. It's the default HUD, it's the default experience. So as such, it's hard to really talk about it too much because it's hard to compare. Because with the future episodes in this series, every other episode in this series is going to be talking about custom HUDs. Even if it's custom HUDs that reformat small parts of the default HUD, they're going to be custom HUDs nonetheless. And talking about custom HUDs, I can just be like, well, the default HUD has ammo on the bottom right, but this new HUD has it, like, more central, so it's more visible and accessible. Which is something a lot of people like. They like having their health and their ammo, like, I actually didn't realize I was a spy. But they like having their health here and their ammo here, so it's like closer to the crosshair and they don't have to look as far away. I feel like that's kind of a non-issue for me. Obviously, it's kind of nice to have it a little bit closer than the far corners of the screen, but I think a lot of people oversell the amount of a problem that would be. But yeah, that's pretty much all there's to say. I guess I should probably use like a metered weapon of some kind. Let me go equip one real quick on Scout. Let's do like a flying guillotine. Yeah, so that's another problem with the stock HUD. The no meter in the middle of the screen, I am not going to see that cleaver meter in the bottom right. That is very, very far out of the way. That's another... Okay, so we got like 4 things, right? Backpack, the meters, we got the health bar. When I look at people, I feel like maybe that's a weird point. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm hallucinating that one. But the meter thing is definitely very real. The seeing people's names when I look at them is definitely very real. Right, like there's definitely a few problems with the default HUD, but on the whole, very solid. Most of it looks really, really great, and just well designed. Yeah, let me know if there's maybe anything I missed about the stock HUD that I should have maybe discussed, or anything you like or dislike about it. That I maybe didn't cover, or maybe that I did, you just happen to agree or disagree with. Let me know about that in the comments. Also, let me know any HUDs I should maybe give a go, because I don't know all the HUDs in existence. I'm going to be looking at them on sites like Game Banana and the Master Config HUD section or whatever, but I'm sure I won't find all of them doing that, so let me know if there's any one in particular you want me to take a look at. And yeah, with that being said, hope y'all enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next How's the HUD, where we take a look at our first custom HUD and discuss, what I like and don't like about it. Yeah, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.